Listeners be advised. The Holiloquy podcast discuss matters related to the human experience and many that are sexual in nature. Due to this, some conversations may surround triggering topics such as sexual violence, self-harm, abuse, and much more. Please be advised, a list of crisis and psychological resources will be available in the show notes of this episode. With that said, let's get started with the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention please as we go through the following safety instructions.
In the event that there is a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen mask will drop from the overhead. Place the mask over your nose and mouth. Breathe normally as oxygen is flowing even if the mask is not inflated. Be sure to adjust your own mask before helping others.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holiloquy podcast. This is your, I messed that all the way up. Oh my God. Anyways, let's just rewind. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Holiloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. This is your favorite host, Vernon T. Scott, also known as Slaytor Jackson, and those freaky motherfuckers out there, Sebastian Adams. On today's episode, I am blessed to be with Tyrell once more, and we are talking about sexually transmitted infections. If y'all don't know what that is, that's also STDs. That is also things that you might catch when you're out here having sex. So to start off this, what were you about to say?
Oh, no, I was about to say yes. Yeah, interchangeable terms. How you want to define, no matter how you want to define.
Look, now to start off this conversation, let's start talking about the stigmas related to STIs. What you got for me?
Oh, it's so interesting. For all of my TV lovers out there by now, guys know I've mentioned before how much of a TV fanatic I am. So I'm going to reference TV for just a moment. For anybody who is a fan of the medical drama New Amsterdam, they actually just recently had an episode where they dealt with the ER case of older adults in a kind of nursing home environment had a outbreak of gonorrhea. And the nature of the episode, it was funny at first because of the fact, obviously, the doctor of the show having to question these older adults about their sexual activity, knowing that depending on what kind of culture you stem from, you do not ask older, adults about their sex life. A lot of older adults even deny having a sex life, even though it was clearly an outbreak that was happening. And so the nature of the episode, if you happen to watch the show and things like that, you'll know that the doctor who was involved in this particular case, how she really thought it was a shame that older adults really, feel stigmatized by the nature of the fact that they don't feel comfortable in spaces to ask like sex questions. And so the nature of the episode, that's how it transpired. She got them all together and, told them to ask anything, so they asked questions about, is it okay after a certain age not to, use condoms? Is it okay, to still tell their partner, what it is that they're wanting? And, just all of these, kind of feel good topics when it comes to sex and sex education, because I think that that's a big misconception. Sex education doesn't stop, when you get to be, venture into adulthood. Sex education is throughout the nature of your life, because as we age, as our wants and our desires tend to change, so does the education around those wants and desires. So I just want to, just wanted to put that out there. If you haven't checked out that episode, definitely do that.
Man, now not you about to already have me on a whole ass tangent in the episode just fucking started. Oh my God, this is what we're going to do today, Tyrell. This is what the fuck we're going to do. But I'm like you said, sex education is throughout your life. You should be learning about certain things related to human sexuality at a young age. What the first thing you need to be learning is consent, which is something that we're not taught. You should know bad touch, good touch, You should not be forced to hug people. You should have body autonomy throughout your life. But that's the conversation that a lot of people are not ready and willing to have.
And I think in the nature of discussing, the nature of STIs, I think that a lot of times the reason why we don't have a proper education about it is because of how we have tended to learn about it. I know, speaking personally for myself, I didn't really have sex education in high school. Basically, we had like physical health class, and pretty much the main things that were discussed about sex were obviously the biological factors and STDs. So I remember, one of the distinct things I do remember is sitting in my health class, and all of a sudden there's one day we're in class and we're just being showed this slideshow of just like different pictures of different STDs. And I'm just like, but and I'm just, but what's going through my mind is that, okay, is like, is this all, so I don't know I don't know, it's kind of like, oh, if I have, unprotected sex, or if I'm in a situation to, where I'm having unprotected sex, like, oh, is this automatically just going to happen? What are the statistics, how does, STIs obviously affect self-identifying men, self-identifying women, or anyone in between, and it's just like all of these questions just, float around through your mind, but it's just like, oh, here it is. And without no type of context of it.
Nothing. Like I have to say, I had a very similar education, well, lack thereof, sex ed as well. It's like, I remember in middle school, we're just told, okay, these are STDs. I think about, that dream, that Mean Girls moment when they're, the coach is just like, you have sex, you get, you'll die.
Yeah, exactly.
That's essentially that's exactly what it is. So I'm like, in middle school, I'm like, okay, so you're saying if I have sex with somebody, you mentioned condom, birth, they just said the pill, you have the pill for pregnancy, and you have condoms, but you should be abstinent because, you can catch these diseases and whatnot. And I'm like, okay, but you're not really telling me anything. And that actually was, that lack of information is what got me on my journey of, where I am today, of learning more about sex, of learning about sexuality, learning about what these diseases mean. I should not have been in the 7th grade or 8th grade looking into health statistics about teenage pregnancy, because this was not answered to me in school, and I'm trying to figure out why the hell are these middle school kids coming around with big stomachs and pregnant. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, and that was actually, honestly speaking, just for my story, why I was never really a social butterfly in school, but a good part of the reason why I abstained from sex, in school, was because of the fact I didn't know, growing up, that sex was for pleasure. I really was thinking that sex was just for biological purposes. So I automatically assumed that, obviously before I knew I was attracted to men, I just had this mentality, the fact that, oh, I thought that if I had sex, like what would happen if I got, a girl pregnant? Or, something along those lines. I was like, oh no, I definitely don't, want that. So that was one of the big reasons why I even abstained, from sex in school. But yeah, it's just like, when you're discussing sexual health, it really can't even be called sexual health, because you're not being given any type of context, no kind of social responsibility that, we need to have, obviously, for each other. And I think now, because obviously, I'm telling our age right now. So obviously, because, we weren't as big on social media like we are today.
Right.
Where, we do, have our favorite, sex content creators and, things like that, where you do see a lot of sex that is happening, interactions that are happening without, proper protection or condom use, that I think now, perhaps, and I may be speaking prematurely, I think now I can only imagine all of the mixed messages that kids have now coming up. Because on one hand, you're wanting to follow the right example and making sure that, yeah, you are using protection, you're doing this, you're doing that, but figuring out, as you mentioned earlier, how do you actually have autonomy of your own body? And what does that look like for you. And also because of the fact we have, just a click and instant access to free porn, it's like, oh, I see these adult stars are not, necessarily doing it. So it must be okay, And I'm not saying that to be true, but I can, only imagine that those may be some of the mixed messages that, are coming where there's coming from.
Yeah, and it's like I even think back to like I learned more about the reproductive system in high school in my anatomy class, where my anatomy teacher, she made it a purpose to educate us properly in terms of how the body functions, but not necessarily to provide sex ed, which I'm not faulting her for because that was not part of her job. Wow. But even just knowing that side of things, I'm still stuck on, okay, so this is how a person gets pregnant. That's great, but this is not telling me anything about the transmission of diseases, and we're not getting any value there. And I think the first time I actually got anything that dealt with statistics and how it impacts populations was when I got into college. And even that presentation was more so shaming people about having sex and actually educating them about having sex. Like if anybody who attended my meeting, the meeting that I was at for in college, they would have just been disgusted to even be sexually interested in any person that is from the city of Macon or lived within that community, because the slideshow that they're presenting us is, oh, this person who's entire, like their penis pretty much decayed. They suffered from this disease and they're of this community. And it was a Black person, spotty too, which even made it even more offensive in my eyes. But it's like, so you're telling us that we cannot be out here on these streets hooking up with these people because you're telling us as college students that the community that we're in is unsafe, most definitely to engage in sexual activity with. So you should just stay on campus, pretty much. Wow. That is what you told us.
Yeah. And I think, even for my college experience, it was kind of like I went to, a small, kind of like HBCU. And I remember during freshman orientation, as they were talking about, developing relationships and, things like that, they were like, be careful about who you decide to engage with because, being at a small college, word spreads. So, your business is not just, your business. And I remember whenever they had the sexual health vehicles and programs, they used to come to, do like the HIV testing and, things like that, that was even before, obviously, I was sexually active. And the thing is, just as an adult, and even just, not necessarily, obviously I wasn't sexually active at the time, but I just always felt an enormous responsibility to know my sexual status, sexual status. So it was always a trip because me and some of my other, people who I used to hang with, we would, stand by the truck, waiting for our turn. And there would not be like a line that was forming to, make sure that, you're getting tested and things like that. And, we kind of had like the inside joke is like, yeah, considering we know certain people's business, like they need to have a lot more people around
a word,
and it's not even, like you say, it was not even necessarily about shaming, but it's just the nature, I think, the messages of shame, as to say, like, if you have engaged, with unprotected sex, or you have engaged with somebody who has had multiple sex partners, there is this, kind of connotation that, oh, like that person is dirty.
The Holiloquy podcast focuses on the variability of sexual expression. When it comes to sexual expression, we often depend on pornography to illustrate how one must perform sexually. For those who have not learned this by now, the stuff you see in porn is not real. Pornography provides a singular perspective of sexual expression that is not often the reality we see during our own sexual encounters. The Holiloquy podcast is a conversation that takes you outside of the compressed box of what many know about sex. Some of the topics we discuss includes kinks, condom usage, status disclosure, and past sexual experiences. The Soliloquy podcast steps out on sexual norms and recognizes that the norm is not the only normal. Subscribe today and join the conversation.
Partners, there is this, kind of connotation that, oh, like that person is dirty, or, like something, along those lines. And then if you have engaged with that person, it's like now you don't want to take accountability or ownership that you have a role, that now you have a role in this. And more often than not, you need to be getting tested, you need to be getting tested more. And it's not, as we're talking, it's not coming from a place of shame. It's coming from a place of knowing. Because if you don't know, then you don't know how to properly proceed in your continued, sexual encounters. And that's what is the main problem.
Because I know there's so many people who are out here like, I don't have any diseases or whatnot, and I'm like, okay, when was the last time you were tested? And their last test date was like 6 months ago, and I'm like, you're too active out here to just have that be your last one. Right. And it's not to shame or anything. It's just, if you know that you're having frequent sex with people, exactly, and different people at that, you should be testing regularly. Right. You should not just be relying on just one test result from 6 months ago to still be accurate today. That's not how it works. That's not how diseases work. That's not how life works. Right. That's like, I got paid let's say I got paid $2,000 6 months ago. Do you still got that $2,000 today? No, it depreciated more than likely. Exactly. The same thing happens with your health. Things change on a daily basis. Emergencies might pop up, or exposures might come up. You should treat your health with importance. You should be out here getting tested regularly.
And we also should be having the conversation, sometimes, sexual transmission does not necessarily just even happen through sexual contact. If you have been exposed to, people, if you are or have been exposed to people who are doing drugs, as far as needles and, just other, types of, equipment, such as that, it could make you more, susceptible to, certain infections, so that's a conversation that, doesn't, get had as much, either. And then especially as, I think we're moving into, I want to say, like, not necessarily drug induced, but, you have your recreational drugs, of course, but then, of course, you have your hardcore drug use. Yeah. And depending on who it is that, you may be engaging with, that may be a concern that, you need to take very much into account.
Because a lot of people don't think about what their recreational drugs do to their body's immune system on a regular basis. Is it actually strengthening anything, or is it weakening it? I think alcohol is one of those drugs that actually weakens your immune system. Don't quote me on that. It's been a while since I looked at this, but I really do think that is one of those that weaken your immune system. So if you're out here having drunk sex, unprotected sex on top of that, you don't have a strong enough immune system to be combating anything. So you should really be worried about what you're doing in those times. Exactly. So it's like, because even when it comes to the shame that some people may have, about being clean or dirty, whatever the case may be, what steps are you actually making to ensure that you're not giving somebody else something?
Exactly.
Like, just because you got tested for HIV, are you doing a full panel? Do you know if you have HSV1, HSV2, even though HSV1 is not considered STI, and HSP, herpes simplex virus. There we go. HSV2 in one, they're pretty much the same thing. But it's like, how in depth are you going into your study of your own sexual health?
Exactly.
Another thing that that you brought up in our discussion for this episode was anal health and HPV. What do you have to say about that, essentially?
I think that if you're going to engage with the nature of anal sex, there's obviously certain precautions that obviously that you need to take. Obviously, we kind of know the process surrounding douching and just things like that, which I have heard doctors have gone on record to say, because I think when it comes to anal penetration, I think it's one of those things that you do want to douche because the fact that you want to be clean, you feel like obviously being clean and things like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, I do know that many medical professionals have gone on record to say, like, but just be careful, because if you're doing it too much, you can be upsetting your actual intestines and things that have to happen naturally with your body. And even as I was reading, a couple medical professionals were saying that a lot of times with anal penetration or anal sex, it's really a fear of something happening. Because if you think about your body and your health system, it's kind of like your body does a natural job of cleaning you out. So when you consistently mess with that, that can essentially pose problems. So it's kind of like to be clean, a simple routine of bathing, soap, water, like it does the like it does the trick. Like you don't need to have kind of out there measures. Now I do know that there are also or kind of like herbal supplements that don't harm anything. Actually, I, for one, even though I don't engage with anal penetration off too often, I do like taking, which I do have. I have a supplement which is the Pure for Men capsules that kind of regulate like those organs in those areas. And they also have other nutritional kind of aspects. But I do say if you're going to engage with anal penetration, anal sex, to be aware of certain things, but not to go overboard, in thinking that, okay, I have to do all of these things to get ready for it. Because one, to me, that kind of all of that prep is kind of like that takes the fun out of things. And it's entirely too much. It's entirely too much. And then especially if you happen to have an encounter where the person, they're only kind of in the groove with you for a couple minutes, and now you didn't spend all this time, trying you're gonna be mad as hell.
Look, because
you're gonna be mad as hell.
I've had conversations with other bottoms and whatnot that have been talking about how they may go a couple days without eating, or may fast for like the day before and whatnot. And I'm like, you can there's ways, like if a fleet can just get you cleared out as quick as you need and whatnot. And that's even with some women who participate in anal sex too, how they may starve themselves, or when it comes up to that point where they are going to be participating with in anal sex with their partner, they may just eat only fruits and vegetables the day before, which I'm not knocking that. Do that. That's as long as you're eating.
Right, yeah. You don't want people starving themselves,
Like if you really want to make sure that you have some kind of diet that is going to help with cleansing out your body, eat a lot more celery, because that is what celery is great for, is clearing out your intestines a little bit. So eating more celery is great. Making sure you have stuff with fiber in it, and just having healthy bowel movements will be great as well.
Absolutely.
It's like you don't have to starve yourself for a week just to get some dick. Right. Let's not do that.
And I think that the mentality of it is because of the fact, like, to be completely honest, you don't want to have any kind of painting accidents to happen and things like that. But something that also is a stigma that needs to be tackled and just completely rethought is like for the people that do engage in the top aspect of penetration, you have to understand that you're dealing with the body. The body is the body. The body is going to have natural functions. Now, I'm not saying that that is a just cause to go ahead, and if you are happen to be penetrated, that to go ahead and eat something entirely heavy and then to engage in a sexual encounter. No, but just know that accidents, they may happen. So like that's what you take the aspect of when you engage in anal penetration. So I just I hate the fact of when I see like comments of saying like, oh, somebody better not ever do that on me, because like it's it's just gonna be a wrap, and just all of that stuff, because it's like you're reinforcing innately what is the problem.
It's like, why be there? Like it is a part. It's natural for the body. Like, this is another reason why it's better to just wear condoms, just in case if that do happen. Take the fucking condom off, throw it in trash, and put on another one. Like, it's that simple.
Even if some type of incident does happen, just wash yourself off real quick, and then just get back into it. Like,
it's not that big of a deal.
I feel so bad for so many people, men and women, who have just been shamed in just sexual encounters, and a lot of times those shaming incidents are what has our sexual perspectives to be what they are. When you are consistently saying that you're just this in this particular sexual position or role, and it's like we don't think about how much our past experiences of embarrassment and shame actually play a part into that.
That's like, even the other day I was just scrolling through some profiles and whatnot, and I saw somebody who's like, you have to have tip-top hygiene, make sure you clean out and all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay. And on this same person's profile, I think had top, was top, whatever. And I'm like, so I get what you're trying to say here, because hygiene is important. Like, if you,
of course.
And of course, there's those kinks that is a little bit more on the rustic side of things. Not shaming y'all do your thing. But it's like, what are your hygienes like? If you're over here trying to coach other people on that, they have to have pristine hygiene. Some of you people who consider yourselves tops don't even know how to shower properly, and you're trying to tell somebody else how to behave with their body.
But don't you always find that, though? It's like the people who have this laundry list of things that are a necessity, like, you act like your shit don't stink, like, so it's like, you're not the picturesque, person either. And then those kind of profiles, it's like, it's so vague, because it's like, when you say, top cleanliness or top hygiene, it's like, well, what do you particularly mean by that? Because everybody has their own natural body scent, their own natural odor. So, I would even prefer if you said that, oh, like, I prefer women or men who smell like lavender, or like they smell like this particular fragrance, or something that is attractive to you, because at least then that way you're giving somebody, oh, this is like a turn on for them, in some sort of way or fashion. But it's like, when you make comments like that, it's like, what are people supposed to take for that? And then just because they're with you, they may not think that you're the pillar of good hygiene.
Right.
Really?
Like, I know, even for myself, when it comes to, because I'm getting out of that stage of using deodorant. I still use like a natural deodorant every now and again, but I like essential oils a lot better. And that I also like my, because I'm not out here sweating up a storm, for one. So, and since I'm in mostly highly ventilated areas with has nothing but cold air blowing out, I'm not sweating up a storm. So why continue to buy deodorant for nothing? But of course, I essential oil myself up, because I love the scents that I have. But I'm like, if you are talking about be in top hygiene, and if having hot and sweaty sex, and I start to get musky because of that, so is that now I have bad hygiene?
Right. And then
Like,
knowing, like you say, like everybody's natural body is different. So
mhm,
everybody is gonna sweat in more places than others. You may have places on your body that may have a particular odor. And it's not to say like, oh, like because that is present that, oh my God, like you're a dirty person, or like something
mhm,
like that. And that, because if we even think about, like there was some, a lot of talk within like social media, I believe, like correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was like with like Ashton Kutcher, or something like that, where they were talking about like the whole bathing aspect, about like not necessarily bathing, like
oh, washing your legs, that
yeah,
thing.
or something like that. And I remember when I was hearing it, I'm like, when the outrage started, I was like, okay, like this is being blown way, kind of like way out of proportion. They are not saying like they don't bathe, their children,
Mhm,
or anything like that. And even again, going back to medical professionals, like they say, if you are not like in the gym or have some sort of job like in construction where you are constantly like sweating and things like that, technically speaking, like you could go a day or so without
mhm,
they and you're still, and it's not to say you're a dirty person. And a lot of medical professionals have even warned against bathing too much, because
mhm.
when you do that, you are messing up the follicles in your, those follicles in your skin that are being built to, protect you from like insect and bug bites and, things like that. So if you are bathing too much,
Mhm.
that can cause irritation and just things like that. But you have a lot of people, and like I don't knock it, because people feel the need for their cleanliness. That's all, that's all well and good. But I'm just saying, like, it's not a it's not like a, oh my God, like you dirty person,
Right.
because like you didn't happen to bathe for a day.
Because I remember this is something that happened back in the day. I was also kind of shamed for by my statement, and trust me, I still don't give a damn. But it was a post about how frequently some people bathe, and one person. Okay, I know there's a point where I'm just like, I just can't do it. If that's you, and nobody can smell anything, continue to do you, because whatever.
Right.
But someone's like, oh, I bathe every single day. The other one's like, I probably they were like every 48 hours or so, and then there were some people that's like 4 days, or even a week, once a week. I don't think I can do once a week, but I commented saying, well, for myself, I actually only bathe every other day, because one, I'm in a work environment
Yeah.
where I'm sitting down every day. I'm not active. I'm not sweating. I'm not musky. I'm not any of
Right.
that. I'm just, living my life.
Exactly.
And somebody even mentioned that, oh, well, you're a plus size man. And because you're a plus size man, you should be thinking of your hygiene a lot more, because we sweat a lot more. But I'm like, me being plus size have nothing to do with my overall
No, that
hygiene,
has nothing to do.
because trust me, if I'm going to be hooking up with somebody, oh, definitely I'm going to be, showering up. If I'm going out to the club somewhere, if even
Right.
after the club, I'm taking a shower. But it's like, I'm going to work. I'm not going to really be around people.
Yeah.
Even if I am going to be around people, they're not going to be able to smell me, because I can't even smell myself. Like,
Exactly.
because if you smell yourself, other people can smell you. So it's
Exactly.
like,
Yeah, and that's what people don't recognize. Like everybody's body is different, so
Mhm.
you may need to be someone who bathes a lot more frequently because of what it is that you do. But like you say, if you are someone that like, hey, like 4 days out of the week, I'm not really even by anybody. I'm inside, so because I'll take the fact that you share. I mean, even just for myself, I mean, yes, obviously I do bathe frequently, but it's one of those things where yeah, I may take an actual bath maybe every other day or maybe every 2 days.
Mhm.
And in between those days, I may be like taking like a quick wash off, to wash, like my important private areas or,
Mhm.
something like that. And of course, like if I'm going out or something like that, of course I bathe, like you say, if I know I'm going to be around, people, things like that. So I do, definitely see what you're saying. It's kind of like, if it's not getting to a point where it's like you say, like, when you smell yourself, then you get into a point, okay, well, hey, it's bad. But it's like everybody's body temp, body's odor, it's very different. So it's just, I just like, people just calm down. Worry about your own body. Everybody needs to just worry about their own body. But I do know the fact that it does become a problem though. I have a very close family member of mine who I won't mention, but she is very sensitive to smell. And she can't, stand for people to, be hovering, like over her and things like that, especially if they have like a certain, type of scent, and it's, in certain instances, when she talks about this, it is funny, but I can only imagine, like there's a difference, in like natural odor and just being funky or musty. So it's like, and like I say, that may not even be deliberate, it just may be depending on what you're doing. So it's like, for all of us that have a very heightened sense of smell, it's not really one of those things that's that daddy.
Look, I will say, most definitely for those people who are out here working out, most definitely myself, because look, every day I work out, I'm taking a shower but please, if you know that you have a pungent body odor, and I don't mean that in a bad way, sometimes just running something up under there to relinquish that odor a little bit is good, because sometimes I'm not trying to wake up and just automatically smell some onions in my room. I'm not, like, no shame, but it's one of those things. But it's like, even when it's like working out, like there's been sometimes I will come home after I worked out and my clothes don't even have a smell to them. It's like, I'm still taking that shower, but it's like things like that.
And I think that we're so subconscious about that, even being young, because I remember the one thing I hated in high school was that, because I went to a high school where you did not have to necessarily engage, with like group activities or anything, but you had to dress out, so dressing out was a part of your gym grade. And I remember, especially in the boys' locker room, for whatever the reason, they would like get changed from, their gym clothes, but instead of just letting their natural, kind of like body odor, just linger for a period or two, they would get in the locker room and spray all this damn Axe body spray. And I'm just like walking into that, it's like, oh my God, I'm ready to pass out. Because it's like, y'all are really not understand. And I'm not, and I trust me, chemistry was one of my worst subjects. But I know enough to know that when you are mixing sweat and to me, Axe already stinks anyway, just personally my opinion. It's strong. And when you are mixing those two scents together, it's just like atrocious. And I always used to have in my head, I'm like, guys, y'all really weren't doing anything like too much. Y'all were throwing around the football in the gym or playing basketball or whatever, like letting your natural body odor just linger. Natural body odor does not stink. Like, it's not a stink type of a smell. You can smell it, but it's not like a stink type of a smell. But by you spraying all of that onto, now mixing that Axe with your body sweat, it's like, now you do stink.
Now I'm triggered because I remember working out and trying that once, and the under my arm burned so fucking bad. I was like, I would never do this again.
No.
Like, why? How the hell did y'all do these all these years? No, I would rather just rinse off my fucking piss and just be great. No.
I can't.
Like,
it brings back such terrible memories.
Like, that's another reason why I just prefer just do essential oils or just not wear deodorant these days, is because, one, I realize when I'm just walking around the track or exercising or doing something light and I just leave, I might have my little bit of oniony smell going on, but it's like you said, it's not that strong, it's not that heavy, and on top of that, like just in general, it's nothing that I actually like. For some weird reason, I smell better than I did when I was using a lot more deodorants and sprays, versus when I'm not using them and just using like a essential oil.
Yeah. And something that, and especially particularly speaking, specifically to men, but this can, be applied to anybody. As you get older, you have to get to know your body and know that not all fragrances are going to be for you. Not all lotions are going to be for you and things like that. So you really have to find things that are good to your skin. I take that, as a high compliment. One of the compliments I always get about myself is that people always think I have like good skin. So I'm like, oh, thank you. But it's one of those things that, that's a process. There are certain type of lotions that you can apply if you have, particularly dry skin a lot. There's particular, fragrances. Like I know for myself, I'm a smaller guy. I'm only 5'3". So I don't like strong colognes, because to me, it doesn't fit with my body type. So for me, as far as fragrances go, of course, I love cologne, but I love colognes that have a little bit more of a lighter scent, because that goes with the nature of my height and my weight. So, and a lot of times people don't think about those kind of things, that not all fragrances are going to appeal to your body.
I know, like for myself, I don't like, polo. There's one polo that polo fragrance I have. I love it. It actually smells really good, and I do use that every now and again. But I prefer lighter smelling fragrances, as well as like if I'm going to the store to just get something and it's like categorized unisex, female, masculine, whatever. I'm more on the side of like the feminine perfumes that are a lot lighter smells and are even something that's more of the unisex than I am of the masculine sense, because those things are just way too strong for my nose.
Yeah, they're way too strong, right?
I don't care that much. I don't want you to know that I'm up in this bitch every time I walk into the room. Right. I don't care. I don't need that broad brazen announcement for y'all. Exactly. I just want y'all to know, look, a nigga just showed the fuck up, and you already know what the fuck is going on, and that's it.
Exactly. And so so I definitely, as a PSA announcement for everybody out there, get to know your own body. And just because something may smell nice, just because something may smell nice doesn't mean that it will necessarily smell nice on you. So that's why it's important to have people have people in your circle, no matter if that's your family or your friends, to be candidly honest with you. Like, hey, do you like this? Do you like this scent? Or something? Because I'll be the first one to tell you, like, oh no, I don't particularly like that. Or, I'll be like, oh yes, that smells wonderful. Right. So definitely get people around you that will tell you the truth. Like, I need y'all to tell me if I'm out here, sweating like a sock.
Ain't it? Now I will say I definitely found my fragrance, because I got way too many comments like, ooh, bro, is that you? You already fucking know. Thank you. I'm smelling myself. I am.
But get a whiff.
Get a whiff. Oh my gosh. I love wearing it, because like if I'm going to be around people, I'm a hugger too, and you just get that hug, and then you get that whiff, and you just like, okay, Bird. I came here to be sexy.
Look, this the grown folks stuff. Y'all ain't ready. Folks. Y'all ain't ready.
Y'all ain't ready for this. You'll fall in love too quick. Stop it. Look, one of the things, this is completely off topic, one of the things that I focus on in terms of coaching is sexual expression. And I feel that sexual expression, sexual experience. So for sexual experience coaching is like understanding everything that works out for you and what can build that connection with you and your partner during that entire experience. And that is looking at the smells that you have, looking at the sounds, looking at the environment, colors, and all that other stuff that enhances the experience. So for those people who might be, trying to enhance their sexual experience, think about, if you are both people who like smells, think about the smells that y'all have in your environment and see how that impacts your sexuality. So that's just a free coaching thing.
Use the environment.
Use the environment.
It could do wonders. Have you in an explosion of a wonderful variety.
Look, having an awakening.
Speak about the awakening.
So I know we're over the time limit and need to get into never have I ever and whatnot, but I feel like this still is an important conversation to have. It is just body scans in general, and how sexual health is a part of your physical health and also part of your mental health too. But what are some of the importance of body scans, most definitely as it relates to STIs and whatnot?
Yes. So I have a very close family member who works in the medical field, and something that they say that they get calls in a lot of time is that people don't know what to do if they're experiencing, something of a STI. And it's kind of like one of those things. One, you're kind of like embarrassed or ashamed to even call about it in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also one of those things that, well, if you think that something is going on, definitely get it checked, immediately, because it could be something, it could be, it could be nothing. But definitely, as far as body scans are important for all genders, all identities, because the nature of you keeping up with your health from just a visual perspective is highly important. So I definitely recommend, that's why it's important, to feel on yourself, not just for pleasure purposes, but, just for health purposes as well. Feel around your arm, feel around your thigh, feel around, your private areas, just to, make sure that, you're not, see if there's any bumps that are forming or lumps or, those kind of things. If it is something that is forming that looks a little bit minuscule, it's a prominent thing in Black culture, put Vaseline on everything.
So Vaseline be working though.
I say, try Vaseline at first, but definitely if you notice, something that is becoming a lot more prominent, or you're getting like a lot of bumps in a lot of places, or something like that, something that you can clearly see that is not right. That also goes for like certain types of itching and things like that, of course, for certain areas, burning sensations,
excessive discharge,
yes. So yeah, those are like things that you definitely want to be on the lookout for and to watch for.
So body scans are not just for breast cancer, it's for everybody. In breast cancer is not just for women. Our vulva owning persons is for everybody. When it comes to STIs, definitely, like you said, look at your body, look for patches of bumps, look at random bumps that's forming on your body. Definitely with the discharge is normal, people. It is normal, because I know there's some people who's just like, okay, I don't understand what the hell is going on here. Why is this like this fluid leaking out of my body? It's okay. That is something normal, most definitely, if you are a vulva owner. But excessive discharge, when things are either discolored, looking a little bit different, or if it's increased in flow, then definitely look into that.
And I do want to say it's also important to, because I know every year when I have my yearly physical, of course, and this is why it's important to make sure that you have a PCP that you're comfortable with a primary care physician, because when they make you do like your blood and your urine tests, sometimes when, especially like for urine samples, you may not be able to see it because of the coloring. But sometimes, and it's not to, scare people out there, but just speaking personally for myself, I have had times where there's been like some blood in my urine. And it may be because of the fact, you're not drinking, maybe enough water. It may be something else, but it's something that if it does cause a nature of a concern to, just monitor, it may just be something small and, hey, you just need to be drinking a little bit more water. Or, if it doesn't really give cause for concern, it may, be because hey, you need to do a little bit of this more. But definitely don't discount the fact that just because you don't happen to see something in certain regards, that something may not be happening. So in those instances, it is, I'm going to say, depending on how often, you need to visit, a primary care or, health medical professionals that, you're comfortable with. Just make sure definitely in the annual visit that you are wanting to make sure that you're doing regular urine samples or blood tests and things like that, because those are the quickest ways to know if something is going on.
Amen to that. On that note, let's go ahead and bring out that never have I ever shit. Oh my God. And I'm just going to let you know now, I just, while you were talking, I picked the card and I did read the card and it went there. Okay. Are you ready?
All right. I'm ready. Let's do it.
So it is never have I ever tasted my own cum because I wanted to know what it tasted like.
Oh yeah, I have.
I have as well.
Yeah. I think that's natural.
I would say it's natural too, because you need to know what it tastes like. If you out here thinking other people need to taste it, taste your own. If you don't like the taste, what you need to improve that taste because other people not going to like it.
Yeah, and I mean, even in like sexual conversations that I happen to have, like I will say that I'm not necessarily a big cum person. Like I don't necessarily even like my own cum on me, but it's just like, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I think that's just part of natural curiosity. Like you want to know, what it tastes like. So
right. So taste your cum, people. Taste it. See, enjoy your own fruits. It's your seed. Love it.
Exactly.
So I'm going to do a would you rather. So this is actually interesting. Would you rather accidentally send nude photos to your ex or accidentally send them to a neighbor?
Accidentally send nude photos to your ex or to your neighbor. Let's see. I guess I would rather send them to the ex, because I just have the feeling like the ex is like, more than likely, if they're an ex, they've already probably seen me anyway. So it's like, it's not going to be anything that's a big deal. Depending on who the neighbor is, though, that could be a little bit creepy-ish. It could also be like, well, my news are, in taste. So, I may be getting some unwanted attention that, I may not be seeking at the moment. So, just, I feel like the neighbor thing is a little bit more of a toss up. It depends on who the neighbor is. And then also, like I say, it depends on who the neighbor is, because I think about the fact, like, and I don't know, just taking this to a very dark place, like, what if the neighbor happened to be like a minor? Or something like that. Like no, like
that's
no.
A good point.
There's just too many unknown factors with the nature of a neighbor. But my ex has probably seen me new, obviously seen me new, so it's not like that. Be like, this is what you're missing out on now.
Stop. I upgrade a little bit, still fine, just a little bit extra on that.
And shoot, you never know. I may have sent it on purpose. Just
I'm done. I will say definitely wouldn't mind sending one to an ex. It's just like, okay, you've seen a nude before. It is what it is. And I'm also with you. It depends on the fucking neighbor, because I do have a couple neighbors that I'm just like, you know what? If the interest Align. Let's
Yeah,
go. Let's see what the fuck. Let's
yeah,
pop some shit
exactly,
off and pop things
exactly,
off multiple times. Like
exactly.
firecrack popped off. Let's go. What's
Yeah.
up?
Yeah, because on that flip side, like you say, you can have that neighbor where it's like, we can get this on and popping if we want to take it there.
Look, pull the fuck up. We're in the same neighborhood. What's up?
Like ring that bell.
Look, like
Ring that
all I
bell.
can say, look, if this becomes a regular thing, it becomes a regular thing. But just know it's going to be strictly fucking because I'm not trying to date you. Not really. This is a lust thing, not a love thing.
Right. Let's make sure we
Cute
have
though. That's Kurt. That's Kurt. That's real Kurt. But
that.
would you like a sex question?
Sure.
Let's see what it's talking about. So, what's your policy on having sex under the influence?
Ooh, it's policy for having sex under the influence. Still that there needs to be consent that is involved. I actually read something that's a very prophetic piece of work where the author was describing the nature of them being not necessarily being the one that was violated, but feeling like he was the one that was the violator. And even though his partner at the time didn't see it that way, it doesn't make the experience, nonetheless. And so I really think that if you happen to be coupled or even dating, just recognize, be aware of the state of intoxication that inebriates the both of you, because obviously we know that alcohol affects people, very differently. And just make sure that you are also having boundaries, with yourself. I'm not going to say that there's nothing, wrong with drunk sex. That can actually be a good bit of a turn on. I do think that anything that's done in overindulgence is definitely a cause for concern. So if you recognize that you are only being with your partner, only being with this person if it's under the influence, then yes, that's a concern that needs to be rectified and addressed. But yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong, with being, a little under influence while wanting to, be with the partner, but just recognize about the fact that consent still needs to be had. And it's a part of the reason why you need to be very honest with yourself. If you know that you are only a person that can have that 1 or 2 drinks has you, out there, guess what? You don't need to be in a sexual situation. If you know that you are someone that, hey, you tend to be a little bit more touchy-feely or a little bit more handsy, or maybe even a little bit more aggressive, you don't need to be putting yourself in a sexual situation, because something that you don't think can happen can escalate into something, and it could be something that could be harmless. But you don't want it to get to that point. And I know personally for me, I don't mind having, a drink or two, but I've always been the type of drinker where it's like I don't drink to the point to get drunk. Like I drink to just have a little bit of a buzz. Once I have a buzz, I'm good. So really, like 2 drinks for me is good. So, and I wouldn't want to put myself in a situation where I am, I'm so inebriated that, the physical autonomy that I have of my own body, I feel like there's a loss of control with it. So I don't know. That's just where I go in my mind.
I'm with you on that. That's I would say that is essentially my policy as well. Like you said, consent is definitely most important. And I don't mind having drunk sex if I'm drinking wine, because wine just is a very mellow thing, and
Right.
I just like wine. Wine is delicious, and I don't have it enough. Like every once in a while I might drink some wine, but like if I was with a partner and we had like drank a bottle of wine or whatever, and we decided to have sex after that, I would love that. But when it's come to other drugs and mixing that, I personally am not going to indulge in that. Have I had sex while drinking tequila? Still very functioning, probably 2 shots, and that's about it. Still can function and do whatever I want to do and whatnot, and I have a good experience. But it's just I don't like the lingering effects of other alcohols outside of just wine. Wine is something that comes in and just quickly goes out or just, soothes you and has me relax. My partner's relaxed. It is what it is. We just enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
But being like extremely drunk, belligerent, or even just to the point where you can barely walk, I don't want no parts in that. I don't want to talk to that. That can just go to sleep, relax. Do you want me to braid your hair while you're sleeping? Do you want me to rub your back? Whatever you need, I can be there to help you out. But if it's anything sexual, it's just not going to rock over here. I don't want none of that. And even if I just so happen, because I don't really binge drink like that, and I don't see myself getting that drunk anytime soon. But even if I'm the person that's coming home and I'm just that super drunk, just put me in bed, because that's what I really want.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, just go to sleep.
That's what I'm really want. I don't really want to have sex. I don't. I would rather just be knocked the fuck out.
Just turn me on my side and just let me sleep it off.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Don't touch me.
So I would say that's the end of this episode. Do you have any tips, tricks, or anything that you want to share with the audience?
Not necessarily tips or tricks. You have to have a X-rated conversation with me for that. But what I will say is just, recapping, something, obviously a lot of things that we've talked about. For anybody that's out there, please do not feel stigmatized. If you happen to have been exposed to an STI or STD, please be informed, about sexual history of, your current partner or past partners. It can actually be a good, actual great aspect as far as foreplay goes. It doesn't have to be some sort of cringy or awkward, kind of thing to bring up. There are great guides to how to bring up sexual health in dating and things like that to actually make it a good part of courtship. So definitely, don't feel like you're alone. There are plenty of resources out there to help you in navigate having the conversation, with yourself. Definitely make sure that you're keeping your cleanliness up, making sure you bathe properly, those kind of things, of course. And yeah, just as when it comes to your overall health, just make sure that you're always informed. If something feels off, definitely check into it. Don't dismiss it. It's rather to be overly cautious about something and it turn out to be nothing than to dismiss it. And now it's something major that could have, been rectified.
There we go. On that note, thank you all. Actually, first, thank you so much for, joining me this episode, Tyrell. I was almost disrespectful. We can't do that on the Soliloquy podcast.
It's no worries. I always love coming, and thank you so much for having me.
So thank you all so much for listening to the Soliloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. And just in case no one else told you this today, you are beautiful. You are worthy of happiness and joy. You are enough and then some. You may not live up to the expectations of others, but that is okay. You are only required to walk in your own shoes. May each day you live lead you towards abundance. With that said, love you all and see you next episode. Bye. Thank you for listening to the Soliloquy podcast, where we step out and speak on sexuality. You can subscribe to the podcast through your favorite podcasting app and find us on the web at www.soliloquy.com. That's www.heauxliloquy.com. Share the podcast with your friends and join the conversation.